For too many people, spirituality means being a nicer person and loving a nebulous creator, I love the word nebulous, while fearfully retaining all the rules of morality and ideas of God that they were ever taught. And this accumulation of their old religious concepts often festers into a moral guilt or a self-righteousness, while effectively sapping their strength from any new spiritual inspiration. Now hold on to that, and I want to tell you a story. Not too long ago, I had lunch with the son of a family who went through the Holocaust. Obviously, you don't want to go through the Holocaust. He was a Polish Jew. He was rounded up in his 20s. He's 90 now. They sent him off to Russia, Germany, back to Poland. He saw his whole family killed, and so did his wife. Somehow the two of them got through. They were able to get over to Israel, and from there they came here. What is interesting is to look at the two of them today and notice their attitude on life. The man is remarkably cheerful, optimistic, quite pleasant to talk with. He's not bothered by bringing up the Holocaust. He sees it for what it was. One of the most tragic, insane periods of history that human beings ever composed. His wife, however, his wife is under a dark cloud. She's still there. The resentment, the hatred, the unforgiving ideas still storm through her mind. The two of them are incredibly in a contrast mode. They love each other, they obviously get along and so on, but she keeps that within, and he keeps what he has. Let me go on here now, keep that in mind. Genuine spirituality is a process, like any other developmental processes. It is dynamic. It investigates that nagging, unconscious pressure, hinting that there's more to life. As I was talking with their son, we both kind of spontaneously came to the same statement. When you hold a grudge, step back and examine that statement. You're holding a grudge. Whatever you hold, you take on the weight. You take on its characteristics. So here, this poor mother, holding the grudge, if you will, without realizing what it's doing to her. And perhaps in her mind it seems so right to keep that violent memory close to her like that, without realizing how much she's hurting herself. And I begin to think how often that occurs in much lesser areas of our relationships, what has occurred to us in the past. When our minds go back to it, how do we view it? Do we see it like the father did, or do we see it like the mother did? Let me go on. Genuine spirituality, then, takes counsel from the ancient dictum, know thyself. By following the inner urge for growth, knowledge, and a relationship with created reality. This seems so strange, because we haven't mentioned anything religious, or what we might call formally spiritual. Now, this forthcoming Sunday, I have a interesting event to perform in. It pertains to this a little bit. Swami Veda has created a day in which ecumenism is to be celebrated. And he's brought together in one afternoon, for just a brief time, about a half hour apiece, different people from various traditions. You're going to have the Jewish tradition represented, the Roman Catholic tradition, the Buddhist tradition, the Taoist tradition, Hindu tradition, and yours truly got the opportunity to do the tradition of the sages, which I would feel most at home in. And yet I feel a little out of sorts, because he's cast it in kind of a religious perspective, and that's not what our tradition is. I just passed it on. So we'll work that out somehow when I get there. Anyway, let's go on here. Far beyond any single belief system or religious authoritarianism, personal spirituality is constantly questioning, reaching out, wanting to experience the meaning of existence. And people often, when you present it, I find there's a quizzical look on their face. It doesn't sound quite spiritual as they understand spirituality. And for them, spirituality equals religion. And this is why it's so strange, Perhaps they can't step out beyond for a moment just to examine. Well, let's go on. Genuine spirituality propels the psyche to find its place in the cosmos. It changes as one matures, leading the seeker forward to the next step of development. It fights the inertia of religious contentment with the dynamism of ever new self-knowledge. Ooh, how about that? The inertia versus the ever new self-knowledge. It balances one's fear of disturbing convention with the insistence that a curious mind may indeed fathom the unknown. This is actually from the prettier person who was to be here tonight. So I swiped it from her. Don't tell her that, please. But again, I was just thinking, trying to put this all together. An elder couple have undergone things we'll never understand because of their such extreme traumas. And yet they come out in two different ways, Both intelligent people, loving people, raising a family, and yet some harbor certain things, and some people see it as something that occurred in the past, regretfully. If we put spirituality into a context of development, then we have to recognize that there will be moments in life where the moment of our development, the stage, if you will, of our awareness, we're only going to see so far. It's not a fault, it's just the way things are. It's not meant to be an excuse either. It's just simply a recognition. I am on a journey, basically, to use that metaphor. And I can only see so much at one time. And I have to make my choices and my judgments and my decisions based upon the knowledge, the evidence that's at hand. Okay. As our author points out here, sometimes this accumulation of where we're at in our maturing can sometimes coagulate, if you will, consolidate, and thus effectively slow down or even halt our journey. In other words, I don't want to see another point of view. I won't even consider it. Don't even bring it up. And I think there's always a danger, isn't there? That can happen. And I think it's very difficult for a lot of people to conceive of your humane development, which is for me another word for spirituality, as a science. As a kind of working with the ingredients that compose your nature. And it's the mixing of that, you being the alchemist, putting body, mind, spirit, breath, emotions, and your relationship to society, mixing those all together and saying, hey, this is what it's all about. This is what I have to work with. I don't have, nor do I need, anything from the externals beyond what I already have. And that's even hard for, really sincere, intelligent people to say, oh, there must be something more than just working with my nature. Well, I don't know what they were told about their nature, first of all. So I make sure that we're on the same page when we talk about what is human nature. Huh? And let's leave our presuppositions aside that you were perhaps educated into when you were in first and second grade by the good nuns. Yeah. I remember it really hit me one day, some years ago. It's all here. I don't need special prayers, people to douse me with holy water, to do incantations or offer novenas for me, or, I'll make up for all your dark side. No. You have it right here. It's right here. It's so simple that it's overlooked. It's that old story when God was talking with the angels and they said, I'm going to go down on this earth, but I'm going to hide myself. And the angels said, well, where do you think he's going to hide? I don't know. Why don't you go search around and tell me, you come back. So he did a self-study. A study down on the earth. And a few days later he comes back, Lord, I've figured it all out. You don't have to hide in nature. You don't have to hide in a cave. Just hide in human nature. Nobody will ever look there. It's the old story, You've heard it. But to me, that's astounding. That I work with my intelligence, my will, my emotions. I forge a lifestyle that's adjustable as I grow older, as I change my venue. The seasons of the year force me to alter certain things, the food I eat, clothes I wear. But at the same time, there are certain stabilities there that are just growing. My relationships with people, they're dynamic. They can be enriching or they can be less. And it's up to me to make the adjustments, to make the modifications, to monitor what I'm doing. And that becomes the journey. that becomes what I believe this author was saying. The developmental process called spirituality. And it is so hard to get people to really consider that. In fact, I get usually blank looks, which is fun too, to think about. Now our minds, of course, are the key. Everything comes back to that. What are you going to hold on to on your trip? What are you packing away? What did you learn from the past that is still useful today, that's not getting in your way and tripping you or binding you? Because there's a natural dynamism that's working in you, like your metabolism. Your rational mind's got nothing to do with it. It's just there and it works. And the rational mind just has to become aware of it and learn to coordinate with it. And that is that basic thrust that we have to be curious about life, to look at things and step back and say, what else can I learn from this? And one of the crucial things that we need to look back in, and unfortunately, so for some people it's so difficult, and that is to recognize that a serious impairment, either visited upon you by someone else or you yourself are the instigator, but it has become a serious event in your consciousness, like the Holocaust, that also can become the opportunity to grow. And that is the hardest thing to convince somebody. That the evil they had to endure, or the disaster that they created, could in some way, truly, not rationalizing, but in some way be an opportunity now for you to grow. Without denying it, but without constantly punishing yourself for it. And that's one of the things we have to learn. How to forgive ourselves. How to recognize, hey, things happen that we're not particularly proud of. We don't want to repeat. We hope not too many people find out. But it happened. Swami used to say, there is no fault that you've committed that can come anywhere near the greatness in your soul. And it's that greatness in our soul that we have to reach for sometimes in order to forgive ourselves. Because you won't find it in the fault. You'll just go down again. That takes enormous courage. Enormous courage. Because all your dark shadows will come in and say, you can't do that. You're just trying to get out from responsibility. All those recriminations will come pouring in to flag you. And you have to say, whoa. I'm more than my faults. Yes, you are. You're even more than your virtues. Let's call upon that moreness. Because you won't change unless you do. That poor woman is stuck in her memories. She can't change. She's constantly punishing herself in some indirect way because she holds on to that grudge. It's the nicest thing we can call it, that grudge. But just look what's going on in her daily life, in her minds, huh? There's no way she could enjoy life to the hilt. No way. Because that will get in the way all the time. What we hold on and we hold dear, even if it's that kind of event, that's what will color your thinking. That's why it's so important to realize, whoa, I am responsible, yes, but I don't have to put myself into a prison of the past. No, see it for what it is. Reach out for the more that's in you and let that come in and heal. Yes. That's why it's important sometimes, we need to pull back. Because in our exuberance to get on in life, to become successful, modestly perhaps, or colossally, whatever it may be, and all the people that we influence and influence us, there's a time we need always to step back, even from our success, not just our failures or our mistakes or our disasters, because we have to realize we're more than our success. That helps keep things in balance, put things back into context. And you can recognize where people are just so caught up in some of their accomplishments. Whoa, there's no room for anything else. Yeah, okay. They will get just what they want. And my favorite phrase is when someone does me in, I hope you get everything you deserve. Yes, we like to say that too, I think. But the point is here, gang, you are really captain of the ship as you go through the storms of life. And when you hit the beautiful ponds, you are steering it. You make the decisions, which direction. And you don't want anything from the past to say, oh, I can only do this because of what had happened. Wait a minute. Says who? Huh? Be careful when you use the past as a factor in making your decisions. You know from a very common sense point of view, and that is so solidly in the truth, that the simple acts of kindness, little display of generosity, a politeness. Yes, we sometimes confuse that and think that's what really makes me spiritual. No. That's a tool. It should be used. Life gets a lot easier if we're polite. Sometimes we can't be. And what is interesting too is your mind, by its very nature, wants to clarify. Wants to pierce the nebulousness, the obscurity, the confusion. You just want to. You want to get at what's really there. Because that's where your freedom lies. You're not free when you're confused. And if I hold on to things as a grudge, I stay lopsided. Oh, I may be, in a sense, a nice person, but I'm still lopsided within. That's the tragedy. And it hampers my vision for the future. So, you are complete, but unfinished. All the tools that are required, you can get your hands on. And remember, yoga is a tool. It's meant to be used. Not to be genuflected to, but to be used. We don't put Patanjali up on a pedestal and say, have rituals to it. No, that's not what it's about. We, in a sense, are the embodiment of those sutras. Really. Patanjali may not be a single author. Could have been a group. And they just gave it a name. We don't know for sure. And really it's an explicitation of what helps mind, body, and spirit work together. It's a maintenance manual. And it's only as good as it's effective. And that surprises people, that we could put things on such a kind of a test model. But why not? You buy a car, you want it to work. You buy clothes, you want them to fit. You want the fabric to last someone. We do it in everything because that's the way life's put together. And so it seems to me that as we grow spiritually, we become more and more at ease with our nature. In its acceptance, in our acceptance of it. We learn to accommodate it smartly, practically. And it's that ability to become more and more human that makes you the saint. It's not by becoming an angel. Sorry. Swamiji's master told him, "You're already divine, son. Now go find out what it means to be human." Yeah, we were meant to embody the beauty, the strength, the wisdom that is always there at our beck and call if we want to use it. And we do that by meeting people. We need friends. We need companionship. We need a community in some way. Because they reflect us. And that's why they say friendship is really another self, a kindred spirit. And perhaps, people who have undergone incredible stress in their lives that have left lasting scars, perhaps if they had the friends, they might have healed. So, your intuition, your natural impulse to embrace life, to search for new ways if certain ways aren't working out, that's what the journey's all about. And sometimes people you will meet, they're not meant to be with you for long. Don't be surprised. Unfortunately, when I first met Swamiji, some of my friends didn't like what I was doing in Chicago. People I'd grown up with, went to school with, played with, And I was puzzled. I'm still the same guy. Well, in their eyes, apparently I wasn't. It got to the point where I had to walk away. But then I gained new friends who were walking in the same direction I was. And that can happen. That can happen. So sometimes we have to walk beyond some of the things that have meant a lot to us for a while and then realize, hey, I guess I'm outgrowing it. So each of you have your own path, even though we're walking towards that wisdom. Each of you have your own way of dealing with situations and putting your personality upon it. And that needs to be preserved. We're not clones of Swamiji or Patanjali or anybody, no. We draw upon that, and then we have to digest it and express it. And that makes the beauty of your individuality. Don't be afraid. I see that a lot. People growing, suddenly they feel they've got to pull in, and they're afraid of offending this or something, and they make sort of rules as if they were gods. No, they're not. Rules are to be used, or if not, then leave them alone. You are the most important thing. Huh? That spirit in you, that intelligence, that will. And so the traumas you will go through and have gone through, the celebrations you will continue to have in life, that's all part of it. That's spelling it out for you. And gradually you will pierce through all the surface of things and see what the essences are really all about. And that'll free you up. As a friend of mine said to me, I'm beginning to think that maybe a simple life is more fun than all the accumulations I've been after the last 10 years. Well, he's finally getting something. Each of you have to come to those insights yourself in your way. And I'm always amazed when I read a book and I go back to it, how much the book has improved since the last reading. You know? Amazing. I don't know how it happened. That's the way it is, isn't it? Even people can surprise us that way occasionally. I didn't know you were capable of that. You know? So, leave room for surprise and astonishment. Huh? After all, Aristotle says, wonder's the beginning of philosophy. Whoa! Why is that going on? Yeah. Know thyself. Woo! How simple, how dangerous, huh? Know thyself. You're here to love from your heart, not the other person's expectation. You're not here to conform to anyone. You're here to follow your counsel and stand for it. Then people know who you are. Huh? We're afraid of that because it might go against convention. Yeah, well, that's a choice you've got to make, and no one can make it. And it takes courage. That's why Teresa of Avila said, the most important virtue is on the path is not love or faith, but courage. To stand for the truth that you feel is right. Not in any coercive, aggressive, belligerent manner, no, but simply, this is my understanding, and if it's incomplete, please tell me. There's a strength that can come by being peaceful and gentle. Strange to put that together, strength with gentleness, but there is. Because you stand firm in your gentleness. Huh? It's not wavering. It's not wishy-washy. You know what you're doing. You're watching the effect. And you know when that's enough. Your discretion, your sensibilities, get sharpened that way. It's like when you're working in the garden. You plant the seeds. You got to water it. Okay. But a few days later, you don't scrape the dirt away to see if the seeds opened up or not. You got to trust it, huh? You've done what you've done. That's all you can do. Now you've got to trust in that reality. And then we ought to do it with people. Huh? We can only do so much at times. We can only say so much. And if we do too much, we can even offend them. And so you have to learn a little discretion at times. Love requires discernment, because you can't love everybody in the same way. It's not possible. You'll make mistakes, so learn. As we say, sometimes you're right, sometimes you learn. And keep a sense of humor, please. Very important to be able to occasionally laugh at yourself. Oh, God. We all get very important. And, I guess, yeah, that's very important. Keeps you supple. And when there's a lot of fear around, it's important to stay supple. You will be misunderstood. Yes, well, and all your explanations won't make a bit of difference. They just can't see what you see. They can't appreciate what you appreciate. It's unfortunate, sometimes that occurs. Do your best, that's all you can do again. So, you walk on. But you're never alone. And each of us has to make these discoveries, huh? Each of us has to take the broad map and now mark out our own trail. We're like the knights of Camelot. Each went in a different way to search for the Grail. And that's what you're doing. Some through marriage, some through divorce, some through children, some without children. Each of you will see what you've got and go to town from there. Bon voyage.